Before we dive into this story, a quick heads up. This presentation delves into themes of identity theft, psychological distress, and the unsettling erosion of personal reality. Listener discretion is advised. Imagine standing on the precipice of everything you've worked for, everything you believe yourself to be, only for it to be stripped away in a single horrifying moment. Not by an enemy you know, not by a mistake you made, but by a phantom. A perfect digital ghost of yourself doing things you never even conceived. My name is Emily Hayes. Or at least that's what I thought my name meant. For 32 years it meant integrity, diligence, a steady hand in a chaotic world. I was a senior financial analyst at Sterling & Pierce, one of the most respected investment firms in New York. My life was meticulously structured, predictable, and frankly a little boring. And I loved it that way. I had a small apartment in Manhattan, a cat named Muffin, and a perpetually overflowing to-do list that kept me grounded. That all changed on a Tuesday. It started with a calendar notification. Meeting with Mr. Thompson, 10 a.m. Michael Thompson was the managing partner, a man whose office I only ever entered for annual reviews or company-wide celebrations. My heart did a nervous little flutter. Was it a promotion? A new high-profile project? I straightened my blazer, took a deep breath, and walked down the polished corridor, a faint smile playing on my lips. His door was slightly ajar. I knocked, pushed it open, and stepped inside. The room was bathed in the cool, filtered light of the city, but the atmosphere was anything but serene. Mr. Thompson sat behind his massive mahogany desk, his usually jovial face a mask of grim concern. Beside him, a stern-faced woman I didn't recognize, her dark suit practically blending into the shadow of the wall. "Emily, please have a seat," Mr. Thompson said, his voice unusually strained. He didn't offer his usual warm greeting. My stomach tightened. This wasn't good. I perched on the edge of the leather chair, my hands clasped in my lap. The woman across from me didn't introduce herself. She just stared, her gaze unsettlingly intense. Mr. Thompson cleared his throat, picked up a tablet from his desk, and with a hesitant gesture slid it across to me. "Emily," he began, his eyes avoiding mine. We've received something concerning." I looked down at the tablet. The screen was dark, but my reflection stared back at me, a flicker of apprehension in my own eyes. He tapped it. The screen lit up. What I saw made the blood drain from my face. It was me, or it looked like me. The same dark blonde hair, pulled back into my usual neat ponytail. The same slightly crooked nose, the faint mole just above my left eyebrow. The same blue eyes that were now wide with a chilling, almost predatory gleam. The video showed me, sitting in a dimly lit room, hunched over a laptop. The firm's logo, subtly visible on the screen, was unmistakable. My voice, my exact voice, was low and conspiratorial, whispering terms like insider trading, market manipulation, and offshore accounts. I watched as I meticulously detailed a complex scheme to funnel client funds into shell corporations, outlining every illicit step with chilling precision. The face on the screen smirked, a cruel, calculating expression I'd never seen on myself. My own voice, laced with a cold, detached ambition, discussed how to cover our tracks, how to blame it on a junior associate, how to make millions disappear without a trace. It was a nightmare unfolding in high definition. Every nuance, every subtle facial tick, every inflection of my voice was perfectly replicated. It wasn't just a passing resemblance. It was an exact, terrifying mirror image. My breath hitched. My hands, which had been resting on the tablet, began to tremble uncontrollably. I could feel the cold sweat prickling on my scalp. This wasn't real. It couldn't be. That's not me," I stammered, my voice barely a whisper, completely unlike the confident, sinister voice emanating from the tablet. Mr. Thompson finally met my gaze, his expression a mixture of pity and accusation. "Emily, we've had our forensic team analyze it. The metadata, the biometric markers. Everything points to it being authentic. To it being you." "No," I cried, louder this time, pushing the tablet away as if it were a venomous snake. It slid back across the desk, the video still playing, still showing me committing a felony. "That's impossible. I would never. You know me, Michael. I've been with Sterling & Pierce for 10 years. My record is spotless." The stern woman spoke for the first time, her voice flat and devoid of emotion. "Ms. Hayes, the evidence is compelling. This video was anonymously sent to the SEC, along with several key investors. The allegations are severe. We are legally obligated to investigate. Obligated to investigate? I laughed, a hysterical, disbelieving sound that cracked in the quiet office. You think I did that? You think I would risk everything for some illicit scheme? Look at my face on that screen. It's a monster. I don't even know what half those terms mean in that context. Mr. Thompson sighed, running a hand over his thinning hair. Emily, I want to believe you. I truly do. But the video, it's beyond sophisticated. It's flawless. And the level of detail regarding the firm's internal systems, the specific client accounts mentioned, it's information only a few people would have access to. People like you. The implication hung heavy in the air, suffocating me. They weren't just showing me a video, they were telling me I was guilty. It's a deepfake, I whispered, the term tasting alien and horrifying on my tongue. It has to be. Someone is trying to frame me. The woman raised an eyebrow. A deepfake of this quality is incredibly rare, Ms. Hayes, and extremely expensive to produce. Who would have the motive and the resources to do this to you? That was the question, wasn't it? Who would want to destroy Emily Hayes? I was a creature of habit, a conscientious employee, a loyal friend. I didn't have enemies. I didn't dabble in shadowy dealings. My life was so utterly unremarkable, so devoid of drama, that the idea of someone orchestrating such an elaborate, devastating plot against me was completely unfathomable. I don't know, I said, my voice breaking. I swear I have no idea. Mr. Thompson picked up a document. Effective immediately, Emily, you are suspended without pay, pending a full internal and external investigation. Your access to all company systems has been revoked. We'll need your company laptop, phone, and badge before you leave. The words hit me like a physical blow. Suspended. Revoked. It wasn't just my reputation. It was my livelihood, my identity, my entire future dissolving before my eyes. All because of a video that showed me doing something I absolutely did not do. I stumbled out of his office in a daze, the faces of my colleagues blurring as I walked past their cubicles. I could feel their eyes on me, whispers following in my wake. Had the video already circulated through the company? Had everyone already condemned me? My hands were shaking so violently I could barely type my resignation, which they demanded I sign before I left. It wasn't a resignation. It was an admission of guilt, forced upon me by a digital phantom. I emptied my desk, gathering the few personal items I had. A framed photo of Muffin, a quirky stress ball, a half-finished crossword puzzle. Each item felt heavy, imbued with the weight of a life that no longer felt like mine. As I walked out of the building, the crisp New York air felt oppressive, the familiar cityscape suddenly alien. The world, which had always felt so solid, had fractured. My phone buzzed incessantly in my pocket, texts, calls, social media notifications. I didn't dare look. I knew what they would say. Accusations, questions, outrage. I hailed a cab, giving the driver my address, my mind racing, trying to grasp onto some thread of logic, some explanation. But there was nothing. Just the chilling, undeniable image of my own face, twisted into a mask of greed and deceit. How do you fight a ghost? How do you clear your name when the evidence against you is literally you? This wasn't some poor quality Photoshop or a badly dubbed voiceover. This was a perfect fabrication designed to destroy. And it was working. My life, the one I had so carefully built, was already crumbling. And the terrifying part? This was just the beginning. I could feel it. The deepfake wasn't just an attack. It was a declaration. Promise of more to come. And I had no idea who was behind it, or why they had chosen me. And I had no idea who was behind it, or why they had chosen me. The world outside my apartment felt like a different planet. Inside, it was a war zone of my own making, or rather someone else's. My phone rang incessantly, a symphony of condemnation and concern. I ignored most of it. My parents, David and Susan, were an exception. My mother's voice, usually a comforting anchor, was now fractured with worry. She couldn't understand how this could happen, how her son, her Michael, could be implicated in something so vile. My father, ever the pragmatist, urged me to get a lawyer to fight it, but his voice lacked its usual conviction, tainted by a hint of doubt I couldn't bear to acknowledge. Emily was, thankfully, still by my side, though the cracks were beginning to show. She believed me, she said, truly believed I wasn't the man in that video. But every time her eyes flickered towards my laptop, Where the video still played in an endless, horrifying loop in my attempts to dissect it, I saw the seed of doubt. The deepfake was too good, too convincing. It wasn't just my face. It was my mannerisms, my inflections, a twisted mirror image of my very soul. My first frantic steps were predictable. I called every lawyer I knew, every tech expert I could find. The responses were disheartening, almost identical. Deepfakes are notoriously difficult to combat, Michael. The burden of proof is on you to demonstrate it's fake, not on them to prove it's real. Once it's out there, it's virtually impossible to scrub completely. The internet, a tool I'd once used to build my career, had become an unfeeling, relentless monster, amplifying the lie with every share, every comment, every morbid curiosity click. I spent days in a haze staring at screens trying to find anything, any glitch, any telltale sign that would scream fake. But there was nothing. The more I watched, the more insidious the doubt became, even in my own mind. Had I ever done something like that? Had I ever thought something like that? The video wasn't just destroying my reputation. It was eroding my sense of self, making me question my own memories, my own moral compass. It was a psychological assault, designed to make me doubt everything I knew to be true. Emily tried to pull me away from the digital abyss. She cooked my favorite meals, put on movies, tried to engage me in conversation about anything but the deepfake. But my mind was a hamster wheel of dread and obsession. I saw shadows in every corner, heard whispers in every silence. Who could do this? Who hated me enough to orchestrate such a devastating, precise attack? My mind raced through every past interaction, every minor disagreement, every person I might have inadvertently offended. Was it Mark, my former colleague, who always resented my promotions? Was it Jessica, an old friend from college, whose advances I gently rebuffed years ago? The possibilities were endless, and each one felt equally plausible and absurd. I had no enemies, not really. Or so I thought. Then came the second wave. It started subtly. Anonymous emails to my personal account, not just containing the video, but linking to forums where people were discussing it, dissecting it, adding their own vile commentary. The sheer volume of hate was overwhelming. But then, the messages started to get personal. They mentioned details only someone close to me would know. My high school nickname, a specific incident from my childhood, even the name of Emily's beloved cat. You think you're so clever, Michael? You think you can hide? One email read, the subject line simply "TikTok." My blood ran cold. This wasn't just some random attack, this was targeted, intimate. Someone was watching me, someone knew my life, my history. This wasn't about destroying my career anymore. It was about destroying me. Emily found me staring blankly at my laptop screen, the ominous email burning into my retinas. She tried to read over my shoulder, but I quickly slammed the lid shut. I couldn't let her see this, couldn't let this poison seep into her life any more than it already had. But the damage was done. My hands were shaking, my breath shallow. "What is it, Michael?" she asked, her voice laced with an anxiety that mirrored my own. I couldn't lie to her, not really. They know things, Emily. Personal things. Things no stranger would know. Her face paled. She was a strong woman, but this was a different kind of terror. This wasn't a mugger in an alley. This was an unseen enemy, a ghost in the machine, slowly dismantling our lives piece by piece. She clutched my hand, her grip surprisingly firm. "We need to go to the police, Michael. This is harassment. This is stalking." I had already considered it, of course. But what would I tell them? Someone made a fake video of me, and now they're sending me emails with personal details? They'd likely tell me to change my email address, to block the senders. They wouldn't understand the depth of the threat, the chilling precision of it. How do you report a digital phantom? Still, Emily's insistence planted a seed. Maybe I hadn't exhausted all options. Maybe there was a digital forensics unit, someone who understood the invisible war I was fighting. But even as the thought formed, another more terrifying realization hit me. If they knew so much about me, about Emily, about our lives, what else did they know? What else could they fake? The deepfake was just the first shot. The emails were reconnaissance. What was next? A deepfake phone call to my parents, mimicking my voice, confessing to something I hadn't done? A deepfake video of Emily, compromising her just to get to me? The possibilities were endless, each more horrifying than the last. My mind spiraled into a vortex of paranoia. Every notification on my phone, every unexpected knock at the door, every unfamiliar car parked on the street outside. They all became potential harbingers of the next attack. I started checking the locks multiple times before bed, peering through the blinds into the darkness. Sleep became a luxury I could no longer afford, haunted by the specter of my own face, twisted into a grotesque caricature of evil. Emily would often find me awake in the early hours, staring at the ceiling, my thoughts a tangled mess of fear and confusion. She would hold me, offer what comfort she could, but even her touch felt distant, separated by the invisible wall of this digital nightmare. One evening, while aimlessly scrolling through old social media posts, a forgotten memory surfaced. A heated argument I'd had with an online acquaintance, a gamer handle I hadn't thought about in years, Shadow_Spectre. It was over a trivial dispute in an online forum, a disagreement about game strategy that had escalated into personal insults. I remembered him being particularly vitriolic, promising to make my life hell if I ever crossed him again. At the time, I'd laughed it off, dismissed it as empty internet bluster. But now, in the cold light of this new reality, the words echoed with a chilling prescience. Shadow_Spectre. It sounded like something out of a bad movie, but the name itself, Spectre, a ghost, unseen, omnipresent, it fit the profile of my tormentor. Could it be him? A forgotten online spat, festering for years, finally erupting into this devastating campaign? It seemed absurd, disproportionate. But then what was proportionate about creating a deepfake to ruin someone's life? The internet had a way of amplifying grudges, of turning molehills into mountains. And Shadow_Spectre had certainly seemed unhinged back then. I started digging, trying to find any trace of this Shadow_Spectre. But the internet, which had so readily amplified the deepfake, now proved stubbornly opaque. The old forum was defunct, his profile long deleted. It was like trying to catch smoke. Still, it was the first concrete lead, however flimsy, I had. A name, a history, a flicker of a motive. It wasn't much, but it was something to cling to, a target for my growing desperation. I felt a surge of grim determination. I wasn't just a victim anymore. I was a hunter, and Shadow_Spectre, if he existed beyond a forgotten username, was my prey. The game was on whether I liked it or not. And I was starting to realize with a terrifying clarity that this was a game I couldn't afford to lose. My life depended on it. The next 48 hours blurred into a frantic, sleepless siege waged from the blinking blue light of my monitor. My apartment, once a sanctuary, transformed into a war room. Every surface was cluttered with hastily scribbled notes, empty coffee cups, and discarded energy drink cans. Jessica, bless her patience, tried to bring me food to pull me away, but my focus was absolute, terrifyingly narrow. She watched me with a growing concern that mirrored the dark circles under my own eyes. I could see the questions in her gaze, the worry that I was losing myself to this digital phantom, and a part of me knew she was right, but I couldn't stop. I wouldn't. My first move was to try and dissect the deepfake itself. I downloaded every single copy I could find from every platform, YouTube mirrors, obscure forums, even a few dark web links I managed to sniff out. I ran them through every piece of open-source forensic software I could get my hands on. I was looking for anything. A telltale artifact, a unique compression signature, a hidden watermark, a subtle glitch that screamed fake to the trained eye. For hours I stared at my own face, my own voice, twisted into a grotesque parody, my stomach churning with self-loathing and a burning rage. The results were disheartening. The deepfake wasn't just good. It was a masterpiece of digital deception. The facial expressions, the lip syncing, the subtle nuances of my speech patterns, they were all eerily perfect. There were no obvious glitches, no telltale morphing around the edges, none of the usual artifacts that betray even high-quality deepfakes. It was as if I had actually said those words, committed those acts. The software used was top-tier, or the creator was a genius, or both. It was designed to withstand scrutiny, to be indistinguishable from reality to the casual observer, and even to most experts. My next step was to trace its origins. Who uploaded it first? Where did it start? I delved into metadata, IP addresses, and forum timestamps. This was like trying to find the source of a wildfire after it had already consumed an entire forest. The initial upload, as far as I could tell, vanished into a labyrinth of VPNs, proxy servers, and encrypted networks. Shadow_Spectre was no amateur. They knew how to cover their tracks, leaving behind only tantalizing, unhelpful breadcrumbs. Every lead was a dead end. Every IP address bounced through a dozen countries before dissolving into thin air. The isolation began to really set in. I tried calling a few friends, tech-savvy guys I'd known from college, but how do you even begin that conversation? Hey, remember me? Someone's deepfaked me doing something awful, and my life is imploding. Can you help me trace a ghost? The words died in my throat. The shame was too potent, the situation too bizarre. I couldn't risk their judgment, or worse, their disbelief. What if they thought it was me? The thought alone was paralyzing. Jessica was my only tether to sanity. She held my hand when I started shaking, brought me food I couldn't taste, and listened to my increasingly frantic monologues about encryption protocols and neural networks. But even she was starting to look at me differently. The stress had etched lines around my eyes, my hair was a mess, and I hadn't shaved in days. I was a wild man, obsessed, consumed. I could feel the invisible wall growing between us, built brick by the deepfake and my desperate, failing attempts to fight it. "Michael," she'd said softly one evening, finding me hunched over my keyboard, staring blankly at a screen full of code. "You have to sleep. You're going to break." I just grunted, my eyes still scanning, searching for something, anything. "I can't, Jess. Not until I find them. Not until I make them pay." She sighed, a sound heavy with resignation and fear. "What if you can't? What if they're too good?" Her words were like a cold knife twisting in my gut. What if she was right? The thought was terrifying, but it only fueled my resolve. I had to find them. My entire existence depended on it. I shifted my focus from the deepfake itself to Shadow_Spectre. Who was this person? Why me? What was their motive? I started digging into my own digital past, a forensic audit of my entire online life. Every forum post, every old social media account, every obscure website I'd ever visited. I looked for vulnerabilities, for anything I might have said or done that could have triggered such a sophisticated personal attack. My entire life laid bare felt like a minefield. It was in the dead of night, the city outside silent, that I found something. Not a smoking gun, but a flicker of a signal in the vast ocean of data. I had been sifting through old gaming forums, a community I'd been active in during my early 20s. I used to be quite competitive, a bit of a hothead, arguing endlessly about game balance and strategy. It was a stupid, immature phase, but I'd left a substantial digital footprint there. I stumbled upon a thread from almost 10 years ago. It was a particularly nasty argument I'd had with another user. The topic was long forgotten, probably some trivial debate about a character's abilities in an online RPG. But the exchange itself, it was ugly. I had been particularly vitriolic, lashing out with personal attacks, fueled by youthful arrogance and anonymity. The other user, whose handle was digital_wraith, had eventually signed off with a cryptic, almost chilling message. "You don't know who you're messing with, Michael. Some shadows have long memories. And some wraiths, they don't just haunt, they destroy." At the time I'd laughed it off. Just another sore loser. But now, 10 years later, those words echoed with a terrifying prescience. Digital_wraith, Shadow_Spectre. The names felt connected, like two sides of the same coin. Was this the link? Was this seemingly insignificant, decade-old online spat the genesis of my current nightmare? I frantically searched for Digital_wraith. The account was long dormant, deleted, or simply vanished. There were no other posts, no other traces. It was a digital phantom, just like Shadow_Spectre. The connection felt too neat, almost too convenient, yet it was the only real lead I'd unearthed. My mind raced. Could someone hold a grudge for 10 years over a video game argument? A grudge so deep, so consuming, that they would dedicate themselves to mastering deepfake technology just to utterly dismantle my life? It seemed insane, disproportionate, beyond belief. But then, what about the deepfake itself wasn't insane? The thought gnawed at me. If Digital_wraith was Shadow_Spectre, then this wasn't just a random attack. This was personal. This was revenge. And that made it infinitely more terrifying. A faceless enemy driven by a decade of festering resentment was far more dangerous than some random online troll. They had a motive, a burning, patient hatred. As the first sliver of dawn bled through my blinds, casting long, pale shadows across my makeshift war room, my phone buzzed. It was an anonymous message, a single chilling line of text. "Still looking for ghosts, Michael? Some things are better left buried." My blood ran cold. Shadow_Spectre wasn't just lurking in the shadows. They were watching me. They knew I was digging. They knew I was getting close. The game wasn't just on. It had just taken a terrifying personal turn. My hunt for answers had not gone unnoticed. I wasn't just pursuing a phantom, I was being hunted in return. And the realization hit me with the force of a physical blow. Shadow_Spectre was enjoying this. Every desperate, agonizing moment of it. My hunt for answers had not gone unnoticed. I wasn't just pursuing a phantom, I was being hunted in return. And the realization hit me with the force of a physical blow. Shadow_Spectre was enjoying this. Every desperate, agonizing moment of it. The world, which had already begun to fray at the edges, now felt like a predatory organism, watching me from every dark corner, every reflective surface. My apartment, once a sanctuary, became a cage. I started checking the locks obsessively, peering through the peephole before answering a knock, even if it was just the delivery guy. Sleep offered no escape. My dreams were a tangled mess of distorted faces and whispered accusations, often culminating in the chilling image of my own deep-fake self, laughing at my torment. The constant hum of my computer, the glow of my phone screen, these were no longer tools but extensions of the threat. Every notification sent a jolt of adrenaline through me. Was it another deepfake video? Another fabricated article? Or worse, a message from Shadow_Spectre directly, gloating in my misery? It came not as a direct message, but as a subtle shift in the digital landscape around me. A new deepfake appeared, this time not just performing embarrassing acts, but seemingly confessing to things I would never even contemplate. Embezzlement, corporate espionage. The context was my former company, Viridian Tech, the place I'd been fired from. The fabricated video showed me, in a dimly lit room, whispering details of fictional illicit transactions, my face contorted in a sneer I'd never worn. The impact was immediate and devastating. My former colleagues, the few who hadn't already ghosted me, started receiving anonymous emails linking them to this new deepfake confession. Suddenly, the deepfake wasn't just ruining my reputation. It was attempting to drag down anyone associated with me, turning them into unwitting accomplices in Shadow_Spectre's twisted narrative. I saw a text from David, my oldest friend, demanding to know what insanity I'd gotten myself into. His words were laced with fear, not for me, but for himself and his career. The isolation deepened, becoming an almost physical weight. I knew I needed to fight back, but how do you fight a ghost? How do you clear your name when the evidence against you is so perfectly crafted, so utterly convincing, and disseminated so widely that it becomes the accepted truth? The police have been useless, dismissing my claims as paranoia or a desperate attempt to avoid accountability for my supposed actions. Mr. Peterson, Detective Miller had said, his voice dripping with condescension, we've seen plenty of people try to blame hackers for their own mistakes. We can't act on mere speculation. But this wasn't speculation. This was a sophisticated, malicious attack, orchestrated by someone who knew me, or at least knew enough about my life to craft these targeted fictions. I decided to take a different approach. If the authorities wouldn't help, perhaps someone in the tech world would. I remembered an old college acquaintance, Emily Hayes. Emily was a brilliant programmer, a digital forensics expert who now ran her own cybersecurity firm. We hadn't spoken in years, but if anyone could understand the intricacies of deepfake technology and trace its origins, it would be her. I spent hours crafting an email trying to sound rational, not frantic. I attached links to the deepfakes, explained the timeline, and detailed the escalating nature of the attacks. I hit send, a desperate prayer in digital form. The reply came surprisingly fast. Michael, it read. This is intense. I've seen some advanced stuff, but this is next level. Can you meet me tomorrow? My office, 10 a.m. Don't tell anyone else you're coming. Her caution was both reassuring and terrifying. It meant she took me seriously, but also that she recognized the danger. The next morning, I arrived at Emily's sleek, minimalist office building, my heart hammering against my ribs. Her office was a fortress of glass and steel, nestled in a bustling tech park. Inside, Emily, a woman with sharp, intelligent eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor, greeted me with a solemn nod. Show me everything, she said, her voice low. For the next 2 hours, I laid out the full nightmare. I showed her the original deepfake that cost me my job, the subsequent videos, the fabricated articles, the anonymous messages sent to my contacts. I even showed her the cryptic messages from Shadow_Spectre, the ones that taunted me, the ones that revealed they were watching. Emily listened intently, her brow furrowed, occasionally muttering to herself as she analyzed the digital artifacts. The quality is incredible. she finally said, leaning back in her chair. This isn't some amateur job. The facial mapping, the voice synthesis, it's almost flawless. It requires serious computational power and access to a lot of your personal data, photos, voice recordings, video clips. Someone has been collecting information on you for a long time. I know, I said, my voice hoarse. But who? And why? Emily pointed to a specific frame in one of the deepfake videos, where my fabricated self was supposedly signing a document. Look closely at the corner of this document, she instructed, zooming in. It was blurry, almost imperceptible, but there was a faint watermark. It's a logo, an old obscure one, Viridian Tech's original logo, from when they first started, before their rebranding. My blood ran cold. Viridian Tech, my old company, the place where my life had first started to unravel. But why would they use their own old logo? I asked, confused. Wouldn't that be a giveaway? Maybe, Emily mused, tapping her chin. Or maybe it's a message, a signature. This isn't just about ruining your life, Michael. This is personal. And whoever it is, they want you to know it's connected to your past, specifically Viridian. It's almost like they're leaving a breadcrumb, but one that leads you into a deeper trap. This isn't just about the deepfake anymore. This is about revenge. And that logo, it's a very specific detail. Something only someone deeply familiar with Viridian's history would know. Emily then pulled up a database on her monitor, typing furiously. There were only a handful of people who worked at Viridian back then who would have been privy to that original branding. And fewer still who would have the technical expertise to pull this off. She rattled off a few names, each one more familiar than the last. Former colleagues, former superiors, people I had worked with, trusted, even befriended. My mind raced, trying to connect the dots. Had I wronged someone at Viridian? Had I inadvertently stepped on someone's toes? The company had a brutal, competitive culture, but I'd always tried to stay above the fray. I need to dig deeper into these names, Emily said, her fingers flying across the keyboard. But be warned, Michael. If this person is as sophisticated as they appear, they'll know we're looking, and they won't like it. As if on cue, my phone vibrated in my pocket. A new notification. It was a link to a private encrypted chat room. My heart pounded. Could only be one person. I clicked it, my finger trembling. The message was chillingly simple. Tick-tock, Michael. You're getting closer. But remember, the closer you get to the truth, the closer the truth gets to you. And I have more than just deepfakes waiting. Beneath the message was a single image. It was a photo of Emily's office building, taken from across the street. A red circle was drawn around her window, and in the foreground, out of focus, was a familiar car. My car. Shadow_Spectre wasn't just watching me. They were watching us. And they knew exactly where I was and who I was with. The game had just escalated beyond anything I could have imagined. I wasn't just being hunted, I was being drawn into a web, and now I had dragged Emily into it with me. The breadcrumb wasn't a clue. It was bait. And we had taken it hook, line, and sinker. The breadcrumb wasn't a clue. It was bait. And we had taken it hook, line, and sinker. The realization hit me with the force of a physical blow. I had been so focused on finding answers, on clearing my name, that I hadn't considered the possibility that I was being led. Now, driving through the dimly lit streets of the city, Emily beside me, the weight of my mistake pressed down. The address from the coded message led to an abandoned industrial district on the outskirts, a place notorious for its forgotten factories and crumbling warehouses. It was the perfect stage for a trap. Are you sure about this, Michael? Emily's voice was a low murmur, cutting through the tense silence in the car. Her knuckles were white where she gripped the dashboard, a testament to the fear she was trying to suppress. I glanced at her, her profile illuminated by the passing streetlights. Her eyes, usually so vibrant, were shadowed with worry. No, I admitted, my voice rough. I'm not. But what choice do we have? They know we have the message. If we don't show, what then? Do they just escalate? Do they release something worse? She sighed, a shaky breath. And if we do show? What if they're waiting for us? What if this is an ambush? The fear was a cold knot in my stomach, but beneath it, a desperate need for answers burned. Then we face it, I said, trying to project a confidence I didn't feel. We go in, we see what they want. We don't engage unless absolutely necessary. We get whatever information we can, and we get out. The car hummed, the only sound for a long stretch. The urban landscape slowly gave way to desolate stretches of cracked pavement, boarded-up windows, and skeletal structures silhouetted against the bruised night sky. The air grew colder, heavy with the smell of damp concrete and decay. I felt a prickle on the back of my neck, the unsettling sensation of being watched. It was irrational, but in this new reality, paranoia felt like a survival instinct. Finally, we reached the coordinates. A massive, derelict warehouse loomed ahead, its corrugated metal walls rusted and scarred, its windows either shattered or boarded up. It stood alone, a dark monument to forgotten industry, surrounded by an overgrown lot choked with weeds and debris. No other cars were visible. No lights flickered anywhere near it. Just an oppressive, silent darkness. I cut the engine, plunging us into complete silence save for the distant hum of the city. The darkness pressed in, thick and suffocating. "Stay in the car," I whispered, reaching for the door handle. Emily grabbed my arm. "No way. If you're going in, I'm going in. We're in this together, remember?" Her gaze was steady, unwavering. There was a fierce determination in her eyes that, despite my fear for her, filled me with a strange sense of resolve. She was right. We were a team now, whether I liked it or not. We got out, the crunch of our shoes on the gravel sounding unnaturally loud in the stillness. I pulled my phone out, using its flashlight to scan our surroundings. Every shadow seemed to stretch and writhe. Every creak of the old building sounded like a footstep. The wind whispered through the broken windows, a mournful, chilling sigh. "Let's stick to the shadows," I murmured, leading the way. We moved stealthily, keeping close to the building's perimeter. The air grew heavy with a metallic tang, and the stench of stagnant water hung in the air. We found a small, unsecured service door on the side, partially ajar, its paint peeling like sunburnt skin. I pushed it open slowly, the rusty hinges groaning in protest, the sound echoing unervingly into the cavernous darkness within. Emily flinched, pressing closer to me. I shone my light inside. The beam cut through thick dust motes dancing in the air, illuminating a narrow corridor leading deeper into the building. The floor was littered with debris, broken glass, discarded machinery parts, and a thick layer of grime. "Hello," I called out, my voice swallowed by the vastness. Only silence answered, a silence so profound it felt like a presence. We stepped inside, the door creaking shut behind us with a soft thud that made us both jump. The air inside was cold, stagnant, and tasted of rust and decay. I kept my flashlight beam moving, sweeping across the walls, the ceiling, searching for any sign of movement, any hidden camera lens glinting in the dark. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat. The corridor opened into a massive open space. The main factory floor. It was even larger than I'd imagined, a cathedral of shadows. High above, broken skylights offered glimpses of the moon, casting weak, ghostly patterns on the dusty concrete floor. Towering skeletal machinery stood like ancient, forgotten beasts, draped in cobwebs and rust. And there, in the very center of this vast, empty expanse, was something that made my blood run cold. A single old wooden table stood isolated, starkly illuminated by a faint, flickering light. On the table, an antique projector cast its beam onto a section of the crumbling wall, creating a makeshift screen. It was deliberate. A stage. For us. My breath hitched. Emily gasped softly beside me. We moved closer, our footsteps echoing hollowly. The projector whirred softly, a mechanical heartbeat in the silence. As we approached, the images on the dusty wall began to change. It started with a rapid-fire montage, a dizzying sequence of flashing pictures. Old newspaper clippings, their headlines blurred and indecipherable, some dating back years, even decades. Grainy black-and-white surveillance footage, showing indistinct figures moving through shadowed corridors, their faces obscured. Maps overlaid with circles and arrows, pointing to various locations I didn't recognize, or perhaps didn't want to recognize. Each image flashed for only a second, barely long enough to register, but the cumulative effect was disorienting, unsettling. It felt like a fever dream, a torrent of fragmented memories and forgotten histories. Then the montage stopped. The screen went dark for a moment, and the whirring of the projector seemed to intensify, building the suspense to an unbearable peak. Finally, a single still image appeared. It was a photograph, an old one, perhaps from my early 20s. I recognized myself, younger, a little more naive, with shorter hair and a nascent beard. I was sitting at a dimly lit table, a half-empty glass of water in front of me. But it wasn't just me. Across from me, partially obscured by shadow, sat another figure. Their face was blurred, unidentifiable, but their posture, their general build, sparked a faint, uncomfortable flicker of recognition in the deepest corners of my memory. And on the table between us was something else. A dark, leather briefcase slightly ajar. And spilling out of it, unmistakably, stacks of crisp, green banknotes. Cash. A lot of it. My stomach churned. This wasn't just a deepfake video of me losing my temper. This was something far more insidious. A meticulously crafted lie designed to implicate me in something far more serious, something criminal. The setting itself felt vaguely familiar, a low-lit bar or a back room somewhere, a place I might have been in my wilder, less responsible youth. But the briefcase, the money, it was a complete fabrication, a sinister narrative created from pieces of my past. My mind raced, trying to reconcile the image with any real memory. Had I ever been in a situation like that? Had I ever even seen that much cash? The answer was a resounding no. This was a complete fabrication, yet it felt so real, so plausible within the narrative they were building around me. As I stared, horrified, a line of text slowly appeared beneath the photograph on the dusty wall. Letter by agonizing letter. The truth will set you free, Michael. Or bury you. The words hung in the cold, still air. A chilling ultimatum. My breath caught in my throat. It wasn't just about ruining my reputation anymore. It was about something far darker. A secret they believed I held, a truth they wanted me to confess. This wasn't just some random attacker. This was someone who knew me. Someone who had meticulously researched my past. Someone who was trying to force my hand. Emily gripped my arm, her fingers digging in, her own horror palpable. "Michael," she whispered, her voice barely audible. What is this?" I couldn't answer. My mind was reeling, trying to process the implications. This wasn't merely a deepfake. It was a weaponized narrative, an elaborate frame-up designed to coerce me into confessing to something I didn't even understand. What truth were they talking about? What could possibly be buried so deep that it warranted this level of psychological warfare? A sudden sharp metallic clang echoed from somewhere deeper within the warehouse, making us both jump. The sound reverberated through the vast space, seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. It was a clear, unmistakable sign. We were not alone. This wasn't just a message, it was a demonstration. They were here. They had been watching us arrive, watching us discover their carefully laid trap. The air grew heavy with an unspoken threat. The flickering projector seemed to pulse with menace, the words on the wall daring me to respond. We were caught, truly caught. The bait had been taken, and now the net was closing in. We had to get out. Now. "We need to go," I whispered, pulling Emily gently but firmly away from the chilling projection. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to escape this suffocating, terrifying space before whatever unseen presence within the shadows decided to reveal itself. The breadcrumb wasn't a clue. It was a leash, and they were pulling it tight. My breath hitched, a cold knot tightening in my stomach. The air, already thick with dust and the metallic scent of decay, seemed to press in on me, stealing what little oxygen remained. "Run!" my primal brain screamed, "get out now!" But my feet, heavy as lead, refused to move. I was paralyzed, caught in the beam of the projector, a moth drawn to a deadly light. This wasn't just a threat, it was a statement. Asterisk, we know you. We brought you here. And we are watching. Asterisk. The projection flickered, the static momentarily distorting the image before it resolved. It wasn't a static picture. It was a loop of the deepfake videos that had systematically dismantled my life, each one more insidious than the last. My face twisted into a grotesque parody of itself, mouthing words I'd never spoken, committing acts I'd never conceived. But there was something new, something subtly different. In one of the clips, a fleeting frame, almost subliminal, flashed across the screen. It was too fast to fully register, a blur of text or an image. Then it was gone, replaced by the looping horror. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the silence. They weren't just showing me what they'd done. They were taunting me, daring me to look closer, daring me to understand. The fear was still there, a cold, persistent tremor, but beneath it, a spark of something else ignited: fury. A desperate, burning rage that pushed back against the terror. I wouldn't run. Not now. Not when I was this close. I forced my eyes off the screen, scanning the derelict room. The projector hummed quietly from a makeshift stand, A stack of rusted metal drums. Wires snaked across the grimy floor, leading to a portable power inverter. A surprising touch of modern tech amidst the decay. This wasn't some random setup. It was deliberate, precise. Someone had been here recently setting this up, waiting for me. The room itself was a graveyard of forgotten machinery. Overturned crates, skeletal shelving units, a heavy industrial workbench caked in layers of dust and grime. Every shadow seemed to stretch and writhe, playing tricks on my peripheral vision. I moved slowly, deliberately, forcing myself to ignore the constant loop of my digital doppelganger on the wall. My gaze swept over every surface, every nook and cranny, searching for anything out of place, anything that could be the next breadcrumb or perhaps the full loaf. I checked under the workbench first, running my hand along the rough, cold metal. Nothing but cobwebs and dried grease. I peered behind the shelving units, disturbing clouds of dust that made me cough. The air tasted metallic, ancient. The silence of the room was punctuated only by the low hum of the projector and the frantic rasp of my own breathing. Then something caught my eye. Tucked away in a gap between two collapsed cardboard boxes, near the back wall was a small, dark object. It wasn't obvious, almost camouflaged by the gloom. My stomach lurched. This was it. This was what they wanted me to find. I knelt, pushing aside the boxes, my fingers trembling slightly as I reached for it. It was a small rectangular device, no bigger than my palm, made of black matte plastic. It felt surprisingly heavy. There were no obvious buttons or screens, just a single, almost invisible LED light on one side. It wasn't a phone, not a standard recorder. It looked like a specialized piece of surveillance equipment, or perhaps a data storage device. A wave of nausea washed over me. Had this been recording me since I walked in? Was every terrified gasp, every racing thought, being captured? I squeezed my eyes shut for a moment, trying to regain my composure. Asterisk focus, Michael. You're here now. You have to see this through. Asterisk. I flipped the device over in my hand. On the back, etched faintly, was a series of alphanumeric characters. No, not random characters. A date. And a name. 03/12/2024. Project Nightingale. Project Nightingale. The words echoed in the cavernous room, sounding alien and sinister. Nightingale. A bird known for its beautiful, haunting song. What kind of project would bear such a poetic, yet unsettling name in this context? My mind raced, trying to connect the dots. Was it a code name for the deepfake operation? Or something larger, more intricate? I pocketed the device, the cold plastic a stark reminder of the reality I was now fully immersed in. My eyes, now accustomed to the dim light, continued their sweep. The device felt like a clue, but not the final answer. They had led me here, shown me the deepfakes, and given me this Nightingale device. But why? What was the next step? My gaze drifted back to the projector. The deepfake loop was still playing, my distorted face leering from the wall. But as I watched, the subliminal flash returned. This time I was ready. I focused, narrowing my eyes, trying to catch the fleeting image. There. A quick, almost imperceptible flicker. It wasn't text this time. It was a photograph. A grainy black and white image, quickly replaced by the deepfake. I blinked, straining to recall what I'd seen. A face? A building? I needed to see it again. I stood transfixed, my attention riveted to the projection, waiting, my heart thumping a frantic rhythm against the Nightingale device in my pocket. The loop continued, the digital phantom of myself mocking me. And then there it was again. Flash. This time I caught it. A face. A young woman's face, partially obscured by shadow, but undeniably familiar. My blood ran cold, a shockwave of disbelief and dread coursing through me. It was Jessica. Jessica Riley. My ex-girlfriend from years ago. The one I hadn't spoken to in over 5 years, not since our messy breakup. What was she doing in this twisted game? Why was her image flashing in a deepfake presentation meant for me? The implications hit me like a physical blow. This wasn't just about ruining my reputation. This was personal. Deeply, terrifyingly personal. Someone wasn't just targeting me. They were meticulously dissecting my past, pulling threads from my life that I thought were long buried. I felt a sudden, inexplicable urge to examine the projector itself. Maybe there was something in its settings, or a hidden compartment within the device itself. I walked towards the stack of rusted drums, my eyes fixed on the humming machine. It was a standard, albeit older, model, Nothing overtly sinister about its physical appearance. As I reached out to touch it, a faint, almost imperceptible tremor ran through the floor. A low grinding sound, distant but distinct, reached my ears. It was subtle at first, like the building itself was sighing. Then it grew louder, a deep, resonant rumble that seemed to vibrate through my very bones. My head snapped up, my eyes darting around the room. The sound wasn't coming from the projector. It was coming from below, or perhaps from the far end of the warehouse beyond this small contained room. The air grew heavier, the metallic tang intensifying. Panic, cold and sharp, clawed at my throat again. This wasn't a trick of the light or my imagination. The grinding grew into a sustained groan, like heavy machinery stirring to life. The entire floor beneath me began to vibrate more noticeably. Dust, disturbed by the unseen movement, shimmered in the weak light filtering through the grimy windows. My eyes fell on a section of the floor near the back wall, close to where I'd found the Nightingale device. The concrete there looked different. A faint seam, almost perfectly camouflaged by the grime, ran across it. It wasn't a crack. It was a line, a boundary. And as the grinding sound intensified, that section of the floor began to move. Slowly, agonizingly, a large rectangular slab of concrete, perhaps 10 feet by 15 feet, began to descend. It wasn't just a trapdoor. It was an elevator, leading down into the darkness. A deep, cavernous pit of blackness opened up before me, emitting a chilling draft that carried with it the scent of damp earth and something else, something metallic and vaguely chemical. The sudden opening of the floor sent a jolt of pure terror through me. My heart hammered, a frantic animal trapped in my chest. The deepfake loop on the wall seemed to swell, my digital face morphing into a silent scream, reflecting the horror I felt. The projector light flickered erratically, casting grotesque, dancing shadows across the descending slab of concrete. I stumbled backward, tripping over an unseen obstacle and landing hard on my backside, the Nightingale device digging painfully into my hip. My eyes were wide, fixed on the gaping maw in the floor. Was this what they wanted? For me to go down there? Or was this a new layer of the trap, a way to enclose me further? The faint light from above struggled to penetrate the abyss. All I could see was an inky void, the grinding sound now accompanied by the distant clatter of what sounded like heavy chains or machinery. The air grew colder, the sense of an unseen presence more palpable than ever. Jessica. Nightingale. And now this descent into darkness. The breadcrumbs had led me not just to a room, but to an unknown abyss. They weren't pulling the leash, they were actively lowering me further into their elaborate, terrifying game. I was a pawn, and the board was far larger and far more dangerous than I could have ever imagined. The only way out, I realized with a sickening lurch, might be to go deeper in. But what awaited me in that pitch-black void? What new horror had Project Nightingale prepared? The world had shrunk to a single terrifying truth. I was trapped. The game I'd unwittingly entered was far larger, and far more dangerous, than I could have ever imagined. The only way out, I realized with a sickening lurch, might be to go deeper in. But what awaited me in that pitch-black void? What new horror had Project Nightingale prepared? My mind raced, a frantic hamster on a wheel. David was dead. The deepfake had destroyed my life. The police were useless, convinced I was either delusional or a master manipulator. My reputation was in tatters, my career non-existent, my relationships fractured beyond repair. There was nowhere left to run, no one left to trust. The chilling implication of David's death, of the cryptic message, was that I was now the sole target, the next domino in a sinister sequence. If Project Nightingale was a test, I had failed spectacularly, and the consequences were dire. But perhaps, just perhaps, my failure was also my strength. I had nothing left to lose. The thought solidified into a desperate resolve. If I had to go deeper, I needed a map, a compass. The only person who had even a fraction of that knowledge was David. And David was gone. But his apartment, that sterile, unassuming space, might still hold something. A clue. A breadcrumb. Something the police, in their official by-the-book search, might have overlooked. They were looking for evidence of a crime, a murder, a conspiracy that fit their existing frameworks. They weren't looking for a shadow organization that could fabricate entire realities. It was a long shot, a reckless gamble, but it was the only play I had left. I waited until the dead of night, donning a dark hoodie and a baseball cap, my face obscured as much as possible. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drum against the silence of the city streets as I made my way towards David's building. The air was cold, biting, mirroring the chill of dread that had settled deep in my bones. Every shadow seemed to stretch, to twist into watchful eyes. Every distant siren sent a jolt of panic through me. I was a phantom, moving through a world that no longer recognized me, a world that was actively trying to erase me. Reaching the building, I found the back entrance, a service alley rarely used. The lock was old, easily bypassed with a simple toolkit I'd hastily assembled from my own garage. The click of the tumbler was sickeningly loud in the oppressive silence. Inside, the hallway was dark, smelling faintly of stale garbage and disinfectant. David's apartment door still had the official police seals, but they were mostly aesthetic, a formality. The real damage had been done by the initial forced entry, and I knew how to exploit it. A quick, practice push, and the door creaked open just enough for me to slip inside. The apartment was a mausoleum. The police had meticulously gone through everything, leaving behind a sterile chaos. Furniture was askew, drawers pulled out, cushions tossed aside. The air was thick with the scent of chemicals and the lingering metallic tang of forensic investigation. It was unsettling, like walking through the ghost of a life brutally cut short. I moved slowly, methodically, my flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. I wasn't looking for obvious clues. I was looking for David, for the part of him that would have known he might be in danger, and would have prepared. My eyes scanned every surface, every shadow. The living room, the kitchen, the bedroom. Nothing. Just the remnants of a life, picked apart and discarded. Despair began to creep in, cold and insidious. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe there was nothing left. Maybe David had been caught completely off guard. Or maybe he simply hadn't had time to leave anything behind. Then I remembered something David had always done, a peculiar habit he'd had since college. Whenever he was working on something sensitive, something he wanted to keep private, he'd hide it in plain sight, often within the spines of his vast collection of tech manuals and obscure programming books. He had an entire wall of them in his study. I moved to the study, a small room dominated by floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. The books were still there, though many had been pulled out and haphazardly replaced. I started running my hand along the spines, feeling for anything unusual. A slight bulge, a loose cover, anything that felt out of place. It took agonizing minutes, my fingers growing numb, my hope dwindling. And then there it was. Not a book, but a small rectangular gap behind a row of particularly dense, heavy programming tomes. It was almost perfectly concealed, blending with the dark wood of the shelf. I carefully pulled out the books, revealing a small hidden compartment. My breath hitched. Inside, nestled amongst some old charging cables, was a small, well-worn burner phone and a small, encrypted USB drive. There was also a single folded piece of paper, tucked beneath the phone. My hands trembled as I pulled them out. The paper felt thick, expensive. I unfolded it carefully. It was a single typed sentence devoid of any personal touches, just a cold start command. Nightingale sings at dawn. Check the nest. No signature, no context. Just that. My mind spun. Nightingale sings at dawn. Was it a time? A place? Check the nest. What nest? I turned my attention to the burner phone. It was old, a model from years ago, but fully charged. Powered it on. The screen flickered to life, showing a simple lock screen. David's birthday, I thought instantly. He always used it for everything simple. I typed it in. The phone unlocked. The screen was sparse, just a few apps. One stood out. An encrypted messaging app one didn't recognize, and a single unread message. My heart pounded. This was it. This was David's voice from beyond the grave. I tapped the message. It wasn't text. It was a video file. I pressed play, holding the phone close to my ear, the dim glow illuminating my face. David's face appeared on the small screen, looking tired, his eyes shadowed with fear and exhaustion, but resolute. He was sitting in what looked like his own apartment in the same study I was currently in. It was clearly recorded days, maybe weeks before his death. "Michael," he began, his voice low, urgent. "If you're watching this, it means I'm gone. Or worse. I knew this was coming. I've been trying to warn you, but I couldn't risk putting it in writing. Project Nightingale. It's not what we thought. Not just about deepfakes for political gain or corporate espionage. That was just the public face, the cover story. The real project, the Deep Project, is about identity, about creation and replacement." He paused, taking a shaky breath. They're not just making deepfakes of people, Michael. They're making entirely new people. Synthetic identities. Complete digital doppelgangers with full backstories, social media profiles, financial histories, everything. And they're using them to infiltrate, to manipulate, to control. Or even more chillingly, they're using them to replace existing individuals who become inconvenient. Like me. Like you, Michael, if you didn't play along. Your deepfake. It wasn't to ruin your life. It was a test. A demonstration of their capabilities. A warning. They wanted to see how you'd react, how you'd break. And then if you resisted, they could just replace you. The words hit me like a physical blow, stealing the air from my lungs. Synthetic identities. Replacement. The horror of it was so vast, so encompassing, it was difficult to process. My deepfake wasn't just a smear campaign. It was a prelude to erasure. David continued, his voice growing more strained. I got too close. I found out about the nest. It's not a place, Michael, it's a server farm. A massive clandestine facility, hidden somewhere remote. It's where they breed these digital ghosts. Where they birth the synthetic identities. And I found the key. A backdoor into their system. A way to expose them, to show the world what they're doing. He held up a small, almost imperceptible chip, no larger than a grain of rice. This is it. It contains the coordinates, the access codes, everything. I had to upload it to the drive. It's encrypted, of course. The password is the first line of code we ever wrote together back in college for that stupid game we made. Remember? My mind reeled. The chip. The drive. The password. It all clicked into place. David had left me a lifeline, a weapon. But then his face contorted with sudden fear. His eyes darted past the camera, his voice dropping to a whisper. They're here. They know I'm onto them. Michael, be careful. Trust no one. The man in charge, he's closer than you think. He's someone powerful. Someone who moves in the shadows, pulling strings. His name is... I can't say it. But he has a distinctive mark. A silver ring with a viper. Suddenly the video feed crackled, distorting into static. David's image flickered, his voice cutting out. Then with a final agonizing gasp, the screen went black. I stared at the dead phone, my heart a frantic hummingbird in my chest. David was gone, and he had left me with a terrifying legacy. A silver ring with a viper. Powerful man. A nest. Synthetic identities. The silence in the apartment pressed in on me. Heavy and suffocating. I gripped the burner phone and the USB drive, my knuckles white. This wasn't just about clearing my name anymore. This was about exposing a conspiracy that threatened the very fabric of reality, a project that could erase anyone, anywhere, anytime. As I stood there, reeling from the revelations, a faint, almost imperceptible click echoed from the hallway outside the apartment door. It was the sound of the old lock, the one I had just bypassed, being carefully, deliberately engaged. It wasn't me. Someone else was here. Someone had just locked me in. A cold, sickening dread washed over me. I wasn't just deeper in. I was trapped. And the viper, I realized with a sudden, chilling certainty, was already in the nest. The click echoed in the sudden, suffocating silence of my home. A sound so final it felt like a physical blow. My hand, still on the doorknob, froze. I yanked it again, harder this time, testing the lock, but it held firm, mocking my feeble attempt. It wasn't just engaged, it was bolted from the outside. Someone was here. Someone had just locked me in. A cold, sickening dread washed over me. I wasn't just deeper in. I was trapped. And the viper, I realized with a sudden, chilling certainty, was already in the nest. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat in my ears. I spun around, my eyes darting through the dim hallway. Every shadow seemed to stretch, to twist into menacing shapes. My breath hitched. I wasn't alone. The air felt thick, charged with an unseen presence. This wasn't just about digital harassment anymore. This was real. This was physical. Hello. My voice came out as a strangled whisper, barely audible even to myself. It sounded pathetic, lost in the sudden vastness of my own house. No answer. Just the oppressive silence, punctuated by the frantic thud of my own pulse. I took a shaky step back from the front door, my gaze sweeping over the familiar coat rack, the small table with the mail, the framed photo of Jessica and me from years ago, smiling, oblivious. It all looked the same, yet utterly alien, tainted by the knowledge that someone else had been here, had chosen to be here, waiting for me. Who? Why? The question screamed in my head, tearing at my sanity. Was it the person behind the deepfakes? The one who'd orchestrated this elaborate, cruel campaign of destruction? Had they finally tired of the digital game and decided to make it personal? My mind raced, trying to piece together the fragments of this nightmare. The deepfakes, the anonymous messages, the escalating threats, the ruined reputation, the lost job. It had all been building to this terrifying, inescapable moment. I needed to move. Standing still, paralyzed by fear, was not an option. My gaze instinctively went to my phone, lying on the small table next to the door. I lunged for it, my fingers fumbling, desperate to dial 911. But as my hand closed around the cool metal, I saw it. A small, almost imperceptible detail. The screen was black. Not just off, but completely dead. I pressed the power button, nothing. It was gone. My lifeline severed. A fresh wave of terror washed over me. They hadn't just locked me in, they'd cut me off. This wasn't some random break-in. This was calculated. Personal. I swallowed hard, forcing myself to think. The front door was sealed. My phone was dead. What about the back door? The windows? I had to check. I had to know my options. I moved silently, trying to cushion my footsteps, pressing my back against the wall as I crept past the living room, my eyes scanning every corner, every piece of furniture. The curtains were drawn, plunging the room into an eerie twilight. I could feel the hair on the back of my neck standing up, a primal warning system screaming danger. The kitchen was next. I edged my way in, my heart pounding. The back door, a heavy wooden one with a deadbolt, was in sight. I reached for it, my hand trembling as I tried the knob. Locked. And then I saw it, just like the front door. The deadbolt was engaged. From the outside. My breath hitched. How? How could someone lock both doors from the outside without me noticing? Unless they had been inside when I arrived. Hiding. Waiting. The thought sent a shiver down my spine, so intense it made my teeth chatter. They were here. Or they had been here. And they had left me like a rat in a maze. I turned from the back door, my eyes darting around the kitchen. Everything seemed normal. The dishes from this morning were still in the sink. My coffee cup on the counter. But then I noticed something out of place. A single dark feather, lying on the pristine white counter beside the coffee maker. It was unlike any feather I'd ever seen, sleek obsidian black with a metallic sheen. It looked almost artificial, too perfect. I stared at it, a cold knot forming in my stomach. A raven's feather? Or some other dark bird? It felt like a calling card, a sinister signature left behind. My mind flashed back to the anonymous messages, the dark, cryptic tone. The crow watches. I remembered one message, chillingly clear. Was this their symbol? I reached out, my fingers hovering over the feather, but I couldn't bring myself to touch it. Felt contaminated. A tangible piece of the nightmare. Suddenly, a faint sound reached my ears. A soft creak from upstairs. My blood ran cold. I wasn't alone. They were still here. My first instinct was to bolt, to find a weapon, anything. But where? What? I grabbed the heaviest frying pan from the rack above the stove, its weight surprisingly comforting in my trembling hand. I stood there, muscles tense, listening. The house was silent again. Had I imagined it? The adrenaline surged, sharpening my senses. No, I hadn't imagined it. It was too distinct. A floorboard groaning under weight. I had to be careful. I had to be smart. If they were still upstairs, they hadn't heard me. Or maybe they had, and they were waiting. Slowly, carefully, I moved toward the staircase, the frying pan clutched tight. Each step was agony, my ears straining for any sound, my eyes scanning the shadows. The living room, a blur of dark shapes. The hallway leading to the stairs seemed impossibly long. I reached the bottom of the stairs, peering up into the darkness. The landing was obscured, the top of the stairs just a void. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic rhythm. Was this a trap? Were they waiting for me? Or were they just as surprised to hear me as I was to hear them? I remembered the anonymous messages. They knew things about me. Intimate things. They knew my routines. They knew my fears. This wasn't a game to them. This was a hunt. And I was the prey. Taking a deep, shaky breath, I started to ascend, one silent step at a time, the frying pan held ready. Each creak of the old wooden stairs felt deafening, a betrayal of my presence. I imagined eyes watching me from the darkness above, calculating, patient. Midway up, I paused, my eyes fixed on a thin sliver of light emanating from under the door to my bedroom. My bedroom. They were in my bedroom. A cold rage began to mix with my terror. This wasn't just my house. This was my sanctuary. They had invaded the one place I thought was safe, the one place where I could escape the constant barrage of digital attacks. And now even that was gone. I reached the top of the stairs, my hand gripping the frying pan so hard my knuckles ached. The sliver of light was undeniable. My bedroom door was slightly ajar. I took a final, fortifying breath, pushing down the panic, trying to channel it into something useful, something aggressive. I was not going to be a victim, not in my own home. I pushed the door open soundlessly, frying pan raised, ready to strike. The room was bathed in the soft blue glow of my computer monitor. Empty. The bed was undisturbed. The closet door was closed. But the light from the monitor, it wasn't just on. Something was on the screen. I crept closer, my eyes fixed on the display. It was a video. A deepfake. But not just any deepfake. It was a video of me. Or rather, a perfect, horrifying rendition of me. And I was talking to someone. My face was twisted in a cruel, mocking smile. My eyes cold and dead. And the words coming out of my mouth, my own voice, distorted, chillingly calm, were confessions. Confessions of things I had never done, crimes I had never committed. Lies. Horrific, damning lies. My blood ran cold. This wasn't just about ruining my life. This was about framing me. Framing me for something truly monstrous. Then the video on the screen flickered. The image of me dissolved, replaced by a single stark message, stark white against the blue glow of the monitor. "TikTok, Michael." A chill, colder than any fear I had felt before, enveloped me. It wasn't just a threat. It was a countdown. And I was already locked inside the clock. Then from behind me a sound. A soft, almost imperceptible click. The sound of a lock engaging. Not my bedroom door this time. My eyes darted to the window. It was sealed. Bolted. And I was certain, with a horrifying, sickening certainty, that the door to my bedroom, the one I had just entered, had just been locked from the outside. The viper wasn't just in the nest. It was now in my room, and I was its next meal. The click reverberated through the silence of my bedroom like a gunshot. It wasn't the soft, almost imperceptible sound of a door settling, but the distinct metallic thud of a deadbolt sliding home. My blood ran cold, solidifying in my veins, rendering me momentarily paralyzed. I stood there, halfway into the room, my hand still on the doorknob, the chilling certainty of what I just heard ringing in my ears. Locked. From the outside. A wave of primal terror washed over me. A suffocating black tide that threatened to drag me under. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat signaling alarm. Every nerve ending in my body screamed, demanding action, demanding escape. I spun around, my eyes darting wildly, frantically scanning the room. My mind raced, trying to process the impossible. Who? How? Why? I lunged for the door, twisting the knob with desperate force, yanking at it. It was unyielding, solid, an impenetrable barrier. I pounded on it, a frantic, futile series of blows against the heavy wood. My voice hoarse as I shouted, "Hello? Is anyone out there? Let me out." Silence. Only the ragged sound of my own breathing, amplified by the sudden, oppressive stillness of the room. My gaze swept over every inch of the space. My bedroom. A sanctuary turned into a cage. The dresser, the bed, the desk with my laptop, all familiar, yet now imbued with an eerie, menacing quality. Was someone in here with me? Had they hidden before I entered? The thought sent a fresh jolt of adrenaline through me, sharp and cold. I moved slowly, cautiously, my senses on high alert, every muscle tensed. I checked under the bed, my breath catching in my throat as I peered into the dusty darkness, half expecting to see a pair of eyes staring back. Nothing. I straightened up, my eyes sweeping the floor, the walls. Next, the closet. I gripped the handle, my knuckles white, and flung open the bifold doors, revealing only my clothes hanging silently, a mound of laundry in the corner. Empty. The bathroom door was ajar. I pushed it open with a trembling hand, flicking on the light. The small space was empty too, reflecting my own terrified face in the mirror. No one. There was no one else in the room. The realization, instead of bringing relief, brought a new, even more profound wave of dread. If no one was in here, then whoever locked me in was still outside. They were out there watching, listening, waiting. I was a rat in a trap, and the hunter was still circling. My mind reeled. This wasn't just some random break-in. This was targeted, deliberate. The deepfakes, the ruined life, the relentless pursuit. It had all led to this. To me, trapped, alone, at the mercy of an unseen enemy who had meticulously orchestrated my downfall, piece by agonizing piece. I stumbled back, leaning against the wall, sliding down until I was crouched on the floor, my head in my hands. My heart was still racing, but a cold, hard knot of despair was forming in my stomach. What did they want? What was the end game? To break me? To force a confession? To make me disappear? As I sat there, trying to regain some semblance of control, my eyes scanned the room again, but this time with a frantic, desperate precision. I was looking for anything out of place. A faint hum? A strange light? A shadow that shouldn't be there? My gaze landed on my TV, a large flat screen mounted on the wall opposite my bed. It was off, a blank black rectangle reflecting the dim light from my bedside lamp. But then something shifted. A faint, almost imperceptible shimmer on the screen's surface, like heat haze or a ripple in water. My breath hitched. It wasn't just a reflection. It was activating. A soft, almost silent click, and the screen flickered to life. Not a channel, not a menu. Just static at first, a kaleidoscope of white noise that made my teeth ache. Then the static coalesced, forming an image. My blood ran cold for the second time that night, but this time, it was laced with a sickening dread that eclipsed mere terror. It was Jessica. Her face so familiar, so beloved, now twisted into an expression of raw, unadulterated fear. Her eyes were wide, brimming with unshed tears. Her lips parted slightly as if she was about to scream. She was in what looked like her apartment living room, but the background was blurry, indistinct, as if shot through a haze. "No," I whispered, the sound barely audible. This couldn't be real. This had to be another deepfake. But the detail, the nuance of her expression, the way her chest heaved with suppressed sobs, it was terrifyingly convincing. Then she spoke. But it wasn't Jessica's voice. It was a synthesized, distorted voice, low and gravelly, yet with an unsettling metallic edge. It spoke through her deep-faked image, making her lips move in perfect sync with the chilling words. "Hello, Michael. So glad you could join us." My blood turned to ice. My entire body tensed, every muscle locked. This wasn't just a video. This was direct. This was a message. "You've been a busy boy, haven't you? Digging, prodding, pushing where you shouldn't. You should have just accepted your fate, Michael. It would have been so much simpler." The deepfake of Jessica blinked, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek, and my stomach churned. This was a new level of depravity. Using her pain to torment me. But you chose to fight. To expose. A commendable effort, for a dead man walking. The voice chuckled, a dry, rasping sound that sent shivers down my spine. "You see, Michael, we don't like loose ends. And you, my friend, are the loosest of them all." My mind raced, trying to find a flaw, a tell, anything to prove this wasn't real. But the image was flawless. The way her hair fell, the slight tremor in her hands, it was perfect. You're probably wondering where Jessica is, aren't you? Or perhaps you're telling yourself this is just another trick. Another deepfake. And you'd be partially right. The voice paused, building the suspense like a master puppeteer. "The face is ours, Michael. The fear, that's all hers." A guttural cry escaped my throat. "What have you done to her?" The deepfake Jessica's eyes seemed to bore into mine, a horrifying illusion of direct contact. "What we've done, Michael, is ensure that you understand the stakes. You have disrupted our operations. You have threatened to expose a network that is far more vast, far more powerful, than your meager mind can comprehend." The screen flickered, and the image of Jessica zoomed in slightly, her face filling the frame, her eyes pleading, silently screaming. "But we are merciful," the distorted voice continued, a chilling sarcasm laced through every syllable. "We are offering you a choice, a final opportunity to salvage what little remains of your pathetic life, and perhaps, the lives of those you still foolishly cling to." The screen shifted again, and now, alongside Jessica's terrified face, appeared another image. David. My friend, his face bruised, eyes swollen, tied to a chair in what looked like a dimly lit industrial room. A gag was in his mouth. He struggled, his muffled grunts reaching me through the speakers. "David." I choked out, a wave of nausea washing over me. This was it. They had everyone. They were playing with my life, with their lives. A simple confession, Michael. A complete, unreserved admission of guilt for all the deepfakes, all the harassment, all the online attacks. You are the mastermind. You created the deepfakes to frame yourself, to gain sympathy, to launch a new career as a victim. The voice was calm, methodical, outlining a narrative so twisted, so utterly false, it made my blood boil with impotent rage. You will record this confession. You will upload it to your channels. You will take the fall. And then we will ensure that Jessica and David are released. Unharmed. My fists clenched, my nails digging into my palms. This was their game. To break me, to destroy my credibility entirely, to make me responsible for my own undoing, and then to silence me forever. Refuse, the voice continued, its tone hardening. And not only will their fate be unpleasant, but we will release a new wave of deepfakes. Deepfakes so convincing, so vile, that your name will be synonymous with evil. Your reputation will be buried under a mountain of fabricated atrocities. And everyone, Michael, everyone you have ever known will believe it. The images of Jessica and David flickered, their struggles becoming more pronounced, their fear palpable. The message was clear. Comply or watch everyone you care about suffer, while you become the most hated man in America. I stared at the screen, my mind a whirlwind of fear, fury, and a desperate, burning need to protect them. They had cornered me. They had trapped me in my own home, in my own mind. But as the fear began to recede, replaced by a cold, searing anger, a new thought began to form. They thought they had won. They thought they had me. But they had made one fatal mistake. They had underestimated the power of a cornered animal. And I was not going down without a fight. Not while Jessica and David were still out there, still in their clutches. My eyes narrowed, no longer filled with despair, but with a fierce, unyielding resolve. I was locked in, but I was not broken. Not yet. I would find a way out. I would find a way to expose them, and I would make them pay. The first few days were a blur of frantic, desperate attempts. I tried to reach out. Old contacts in cybersecurity, a former colleague who owed me a favor, even a journalist I'd known casually. Each attempt was met with silence, or worse, a cold, dismissive rejection. My phone, my laptop, my burner devices. Everything felt compromised. I'd send an encrypted message, and moments later, a chilling, anonymous email would land in my inbox. A single word, seen. They were everywhere. They were listening. They were watching. The digital world, once my sanctuary and my weapon, had become a cage. Every pixel, every byte, every keystroke was a potential trap. I felt like a rat in a maze, constantly bumping against invisible walls, their unseen hands guiding me deeper into their labyrinth. My resolve, though fierce, was tested with every failed attempt, every phantom shadow I saw in my periphery. I ditched my phone, bought another, then another, each time trying a new unheard-of carrier, a new email provider, a new VPN. It was useless. It was like they had a direct feed into my neural pathways, anticipating my moves before I even made them. The paranoia was a suffocating blanket. I couldn't trust my own reflection, let alone anyone else. The only way out, I realized, was to go completely off-grid. Not just digitally, but physically. I started moving. From one dilapidated motel to another, from city to city, traveling by Greyhound bus and hitchhiking, always paying in cash, leaving no traceable path. I became a ghost, shedding my identity piece by piece, hoping to shed their gaze along with it. It was during one of those endless bus rides, staring out at the blurred landscape of rural America, that a flicker of an idea ignited. A detail so subtle, so minute, it had been drowned out by the chaos of my ruined life. The deepfakes. All of them. The ones that had destroyed my reputation, the ones that had alienated Jessica, the ones that had framed me for corporate espionage. They were perfect, almost impossibly so, but there was something, a signature. My mind raced back to my days as a deepfake researcher. We all had them, subtle tells in our algorithms. A certain way light reflected off synthetic skin, a minute distortion in the vocal track's upper frequencies, a barely perceptible flicker in the eyes when the subject moved too quickly. These were the digital fingerprints, the unique imperfections that revealed the artist behind the masterpiece. I had dismissed them before as random artifacts, but now with desperate clarity, I saw a pattern. There was a specific, almost imperceptible shimmer around the pupils in every deepfake video they had used against me. It was like a tiny iridescent halo that would appear for a fraction of a second, only visible if you knew exactly what to look for, and if you paused the video at precisely the right moment. It wasn't a flaw, it was a signature. Their signature. A digital watermark. And if I could identify it, I could trace it. My new mission became clear. I needed to find a way to analyze those videos to extract that signature, and then use it against them. But how? I had no access to my old equipment, no secure network, no safe haven. Every digital touchpoint was a potential wiretap. I spent weeks meticulously observing. I'd sneak into public libraries, using their computers for just minutes at a time, searching for other deepfake incidents, trying to spot that same iridescent shimmer. It was painstaking, soul-crushing work. My eyes burned, my head throbbed, but the determination grew with every flicker I found. It wasn't just me. Other high-profile deepfake attacks, reported in obscure corners of the internet, showed the same tell. This wasn't just a vendetta against me, it was a systematic operation. They were a professional outfit, well-funded, and incredibly sophisticated. But like all powerful entities, they had an Achilles heel. Their pride. They were so confident in their perfection, so sure no one would ever notice their digital watermark, that they left it embedded in their work. It was a taunt, and now it was their undoing. I needed a plan that would force them to reveal themselves, a plan that would use their own weapon against them. I couldn't expose them directly with my findings. They would simply discredit me, as they always did. I needed to create a situation so volatile, so public, that they couldn't control the narrative. My idea was audacious, reckless, and terrifying. I would create my own deepfake, not of myself but of someone else. Someone powerful, someone whose public image was impeccable, and I would embed their signature watermark into it. Not perfectly, but subtly enough to be recognized by anyone familiar with their work. And crucially, by them. It would be a challenge, a declaration of war on their own turf. I needed resources. Old discarded tech. A laptop from a pawn shop I paid for with coins I'd collected from under vending machines. A cheap webcam, an ancient microphone. I found a secluded, abandoned cabin deep in the woods of upstate New York, far from any cell towers, powered by a rusty generator I managed to fix. It was crude, slow, but it was safe. It was my bunker. Days turned into nights, fueled by stale coffee and an unyielding obsession. I pored over public domain video clips, studying facial movements, vocal inflections, lighting conditions. I used open-source deepfake tools, modifying them, tweaking parameters, trying to replicate that specific iridescent pupil shimmer. It was imperfect, a crude imitation, but I wasn't aiming for perfection. I was aiming for recognition. The target of my deepfake? Senator Evelyn Hayes, a rising star in the political landscape, known for her staunch advocacy for digital privacy and her outspoken criticism of surveillance technologies. Creating a deepfake of her would be an act of digital terrorism, a direct assault on the very principles she championed. It was dangerous, but it was the only way to get their attention. I crafted a short video. Senator Hayes in a staged, dimly lit room, appearing to confess to a massive data breach, revealing classified information that would cripple her career and shake public trust in the government. It was designed to be instantly viral, undeniably shocking. And then I carefully, painstakingly embedded the iridescent shimmer. I made it slightly more prominent than theirs, a deliberate exaggeration, a defiant challenge. I was telling them, I see you. Releasing it was the riskiest part. I couldn't use the internet in my bunker. I needed a public network, untraceable and fast. I packed up my makeshift lab, leaving the cabin behind, and headed to a bustling city, Buffalo, New York. I found a coffee shop with free public Wi-Fi, its network a chaotic mess of unconnected devices. Perfect. My heart hammered against my ribs as I connected the ancient laptop. My hands trembled as I uploaded the video to a newly created, anonymous account on a lesser-known video platform, one known for its lax moderation. I set it to private, scheduled it to go public in precisely 1 hour, and then with a deep, shaky breath, I hit upload. Then I ran. I didn't look back. I bought a cheap bus ticket to a different state, melting into the crowd, my eyes darting around, searching for any sign of recognition, any hint of pursuit. I waited, an agonizing day passing. I found a small, rundown electronics store, using one of their display computers. I typed in the URL. My deepfake video of Senator Hayes was there, and it was exploding. It had gone viral just as I'd intended. News outlets were scrambling, politicians were issuing condemnations, and the internet was in a frenzy. But that wasn't the goal. The goal was their reaction. I watched the comments section, the news reports, the social media feeds. And then I saw it. An anonymous post, buried deep in a forum known for tech whistleblowers, containing a single encrypted file. It was a video, a counterattack, a deepfake of me, Michael Thompson, appearing to confess to fabricating the Senator Hayes video, claiming it was a desperate attempt to regain my lost reputation, and specifically mentioning the iridescent shimmer as a flaw in my own amateur work. They had taken the bait. They had publicly acknowledged the shimmer. They had tried to discredit me by blaming me for their signature. But in doing so, they had given me exactly what I needed. They had confirmed its existence, confirmed their ownership of it. But more importantly, within the metadata of that anonymous counterattack video, hidden behind layers of encryption, was a single non-standard IP address. It wasn't a proxy. It wasn't a VPN. It was a direct raw IP, and it led to a server farm tucked away in an industrial park on the outskirts of Washington, D.C. My blood ran cold. Washington, D.C., the heart of power. Not a random tech group, not a disgruntled ex-colleague. This was something far, far bigger. My eyes narrowed, no longer just with resolve, but with a terrifying clarity. I knew where they were. I knew their signature. And now I knew the stakes. This wasn't just about clearing my name anymore. This was about exposing a shadow organization operating at the highest levels, manipulating public perception, and potentially shaping the future. I had found their lair, and I was going in. The heavy steel door groaned as I pried it open, revealing an abyss of stale air and deeper shadows. The abandoned server farm wasn't truly abandoned. It was a ghost ship sailing through the digital ocean, its engines humming with nefarious purpose. A faint rhythmic thrumming vibrated through the concrete floor, a low pulse of power that spoke of countless machines working in unison. My flashlight beam cut through the gloom, illuminating rows upon rows of empty server racks, draped in dust and cobwebs, a perfect facade. But I knew better. I moved cautiously, each step echoing in the vast empty space. The air grew colder as I ventured deeper, a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature and everything to do with the gnawing dread in my gut. After what felt like an eternity of navigating the labyrinthine corridors, I found it. A section of the wall that looked subtly different, a seam that didn't quite match the rough concrete around it. My fingers traced the outline, finding the barely perceptible edges of a hidden door. It wasn't locked, merely disguised. Pushing it open revealed a stark contrast. Beyond lay a brightly lit corridor, sterile and modern, a world away from the dusty exterior. The hum was louder here, a high-pitched whine that vibrated in my teeth. I followed the sound, my heart hammering against my ribs, until I reached a large glass-enclosed control room. It was state-of-the-art, filled with banks of monitors displaying complex algorithms, network schematics, and, chillingly, a live feed of public figures, their faces subtly morphing, their voices being manipulated in real time. And there, seated before the main console, was a man. He was middle-aged, impeccably dressed, with sharp, intelligent eyes that were currently fixated on the screens before him. He wasn't a shadowy figure in a hood. He looked like a CEO, a senator, someone you'd see on the evening news discussing market trends or foreign policy. He was the face of legitimacy, pulling the strings of deception. I recognized him instantly from various tech conferences and industry articles. Arthur Vance, the reclusive visionary behind several successful, yet vaguely defined AI startups. His companies were known for their disruptive innovation and next-gen media solutions. Now, I knew what those solutions truly were. As I stepped into the room, a floorboard creaking beneath my weight, Vance's head snapped up. His eyes, initially surprised, quickly narrowed into a cold, calculating stare. There was no panic, no fear, only a chilling recognition. "Michael Sterling," he said, his voice calm, almost cordial. "I wondered if you'd ever connect the dots. You've proven more persistent than anticipated. You're behind this," I stated, the words tasting like ash. "All of it. The deepfakes, the disinformation, ruining lives." Vance chuckled, a dry, humorless sound. "Ruining lives? Michael, we're shaping the future. We're providing clarity in a world drowning in noise. People don't want the truth. They want a narrative they can believe. We give it to them." He gestured to the screens. "Look at this. A prominent politician, caught in a fabricated scandal. His approval ratings plummet. Our preferred candidate rises. A new business venture, subtly undermined through a series of leaked, deepfake videos. The competition thrives. It's not about malice, Michael. It's about efficiency. About control. Control over what? Over everyone. I felt a surge of righteous fury. You targeted me. You destroyed my career, my reputation, nearly my life, all for what? A test run. You were a variable, Vance admitted, his gaze unwavering. An early, high-profile test of our capabilities. You had the perfect profile. A respected AI ethicist, known for your integrity. If we could dismantle you, make the world believe your own principles were a sham, it proved our system was foolproof. And it was for a time. He leaned back, a faint smile playing on his lips. You lasted longer than most. Impressive. It ends now, I said, my voice shaking with a mixture of anger and adrenaline. I pulled out the encrypted drive David had given me. I'm downloading everything. Your entire operation, Vance. It's all coming down. Vance laughed outright this time. You think it's that simple? This isn't some amateur setup, Michael. Our network is layered, encrypted, distributed across a dozen nations. You're looking at one node, a critical one, yes, but hardly the entirety of the web. He pressed a button on his console. Immediately, a heavy metallic clang echoed from behind me, and I realized the hidden door had slammed shut, locking me in. You're trapped, Michael. We can have a nice long chat. Perhaps you can even join us. Your skills would be valuable. My eyes darted around the room, searching for an escape, a weakness. Vance watched me, a predator observing its prey. Don't bother, he said, anticipating my thoughts. This room is soundproof, shielded. No signal gets in or out without our explicit permission. That was a lie. Or at least I hoped it was. David had designed the drive with a failsafe. If it detected no external network connectivity for a sustained period, it would attempt to establish a high-frequency burst transmission. A tiny, almost undetectable signal that could send a limited packet of data to a pre-programmed receiver. It was a long shot, but it was my only shot. I walked directly to a terminal, ignoring Vance's warning. You underestimate me, Vance, and you underestimate the truth. I plugged the drive into the nearest available port. A progress bar appeared, slowly filling. Vance watched, his smile fading. What are you doing? That system is isolated. He stood up slowly, deliberately. You won't get anything out of here. Maybe not everything, I conceded, typing furiously, overriding his system's initial resistance. But enough. Enough to expose you. The drive was copying files, not just network data, but internal communications, financial ledgers, the target lists. The names on those lists flashed on the screen. A chilling roster of individuals and organizations whose reputations had been systematically dismantled. Security. Vance barked into a hidden comms device. Intruder in the control room. Neutralize him. Footsteps pounded in the corridor outside. I had minutes, maybe seconds. The progress bar crept along. 80%. 85. I could hear heavy breathing just outside the door. Vance lunged, a surprising burst of speed for a man his age. He aimed for my hand to rip the drive out. I sidestepped, slamming my elbow into his arm. He grunted, stumbling back, momentarily stunned. The door behind me began to vibrate, then dent inward as something heavy slammed against it. 90%. You won't get away with this, Sterling. Vance roared, recovering and lunging again. This time he grabbed my arm. His grip was surprisingly strong. I twisted, trying to pull away, but he held fast, his fingers digging into my flesh. 95%. The door buckled, splintering at the edges. A shadow loomed in the gap. I saw the glint of metal. 100%. The drive beeped, signaling completion. With a desperate surge of adrenaline, I ripped my arm free from Vance's grasp, leaving him momentarily off balance, and yanked the drive from the port. Just as I did, the door burst inward, sending splinters flying. Two burly men in tactical gear stormed in, weapons raised. I didn't hesitate. I didn't try to fight them. My only goal was to get that drive out. I sprinted across the room, past Vance, past the stunned security guards, and through the now open doorway. They shouted, Vance's furious voice echoing, but I was already moving, weaving through the server racks, my knowledge of the layout, however brief, now my only advantage. The chase was a blur of pounding feet, frantic breaths, and the distant shouts of my pursuers. I navigated the maze of the server farm, my heart threatening to explode from my chest. I didn't know if the failsafe signal had gone out, if David had received anything. All I knew was that I had the proof. I burst out of the old steel door I'd entered through, gasping for air, the night sky a welcome, liberating sight. I didn't stop running until I reached my car, fumbling with the keys, my hands trembling so violently I could barely insert it into the ignition. I sped away, not looking back. The image of Vance's cold, furious eyes burned into my memory. I drove straight to David's apartment. He and Jessica were already there, pacing, their faces etched with worry. When I burst in, disheveled and adrenaline-fueled, they rushed towards me. "Michael, are you okay? What happened?" Jessica asked, her voice laced with fear. I thrust the drive into David's hand. "Arthur Vance. It's him. He's the architect. I have everything. The data, the targets, the entire operation." David's fingers flew across his keyboard as he plugged in the drive. Jessica stood beside me, her hand on my arm, her touch a grounding presence. Moments later, David let out a low whistle. "Oh my God, Michael. This is bigger than we thought. Vance isn't just creating deepfakes. He's running a global narrative manipulation network. Look at these names. Politicians, CEOs, journalists, and not just American ones." He showed us a document, a manifesto of sorts detailing Vance's vision. A world where information was curated, where truth was a malleable concept, shaped by those with the power to control the narrative. It spoke of a new era of guided reality, where public opinion could be sculpted, elections swayed, and markets manipulated with surgical precision. My deepfake had been just one ripple in a tsunami of calculated deception. Jessica's face was pale. "This isn't just about clearing your name anymore, Michael. This is about protecting the fabric of reality itself." We immediately contacted the authorities. With David's meticulous documentation and the irrefutable evidence on the drive, the FBI launched a full-scale investigation. The story broke less than 48 hours later. Tech mogul Arthur Vance arrested in global deepfake conspiracy, the headlines screamed. The news was a seismic shockwave, reverberating across the globe. The sheer audacity, the scale, and the chilling implications of Vance's operation captivated and horrified the world. My name was cleared publicly and unequivocally. The media, which had once vilified me, now hailed me as a hero, a whistleblower who had risked everything to expose a terrifying truth. But the vindication felt hollow. The experience had left an indelible mark. I had seen the face of calculated deception, the ease with which reality could be bent, and the terrifying power wielded by those who understood its vulnerabilities. The world was reeling from the revelations, grappling with the profound implications of deepfake technology. Laws were hastily drafted, tech companies scrambled to implement new detection methods, and public trust in digital media plummeted. The fight against disinformation had just begun, and it was a battle for the very soul of truth. I returned to my work, not as an ethicist for a major tech firm, but as an independent advocate, dedicating my life to raising awareness, developing countermeasures, and fighting for digital integrity. My once shattered life was pieced back together, but it was a different life, one forged in the crucible of betrayal and resilience. I had stared into the abyss of manipulated reality, and I knew with chilling certainty that it stared back. The deepfake had nearly ruined my life, but in doing so, it had also opened my eyes to a truth far more dangerous than any lie. That in the digital age, the greatest threat to humanity wasn't just what we saw, but what we believed. And in a world where seeing was no longer believing, how would we ever know what was real?